I've got something special for you today. So I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to release this. I was going to keep it as a live only event, but I ran a workshop last week called the Beg to Buy Masterclass. It's a simple system that I teach my students to help them build a personal brand that is so powerful that your students will literally beg to buy from you. I ran the masterclass. It was super valuable. It's an hour and a half long plus the Q&A. There's a worksheet to go along. I was going to keep it as just a live only event and never release it publicly, but I've decided to release it because I just thought, honestly, it was too good. I really want to put it out there, see what you guys will think. And so you now have access to this masterclass to watch, learn from, and implement. By the way, if you want access to the worksheet that accompanies the masterclass, it'll be linked in the top line of the description. And if you want to learn more from me and join Time to Build for $200 a month, where you can cancel anytime and we have a 90-day money-back guarantee, that'll be the second link in the description down below. But if not, all good. Enjoy the rest of the video. This is the Beg to Buy Masterclass. Am I using a video switcher? Yes, I am using a video switcher because this is my speciality, guys. I'm pretty fucking good at this shit. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this a long time. This is kind of what I'm best in the world at. If you don't have a drink, if you don't have a coffee, if you don't have whatever your chosen poison is, I'd highly recommend going and doing that now quickly as we get into this and as I get into the introduction, because we're going to be here a while. I said 90 minutes. But if I'm anything to go by, I have a tendency to go long and I have a tendency to keep it exciting. So this is going to be lots of fun. All right, team, welcome to the Beg to Buy Masterclass, a powerful system for turning your audience into buyers and having them literally beg to buy from you. This is a system that I teach students inside Time to Build. And so I've converted that to something that is going to be for you guys. Hopefully by the end of this, you guys will have, in my opinion, a crystal clear way for you to create content that converts pretty much every viewer or most of your viewers into people that will want to buy from you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I have one goal for today. Help you install a simple system that consistently turns viewers into fans and fans into buyers. That's my goal for today. But first, I wanted to just quickly cover and get crystal clear around where this fits into the bigger picture. So most of you, I would imagine, can you raise your hands, put your thumbs up if you want to start an online education business, coaching business, something in the info product space, right? I'm looking at all of you. Thumbs up if that's the case. Cool. So I want to cover where this masterclass fits into the bigger picture of starting that business. So there are 4 key phases for every profitable creator business, and this is what we run our students through. Those are generate, capture, ask, and deliver. These are the 4 kind of primary phases, and it works in a cycle. And so you have generate, capture, ask, deliver. Generate and capture creates leads, capture and ask creates customers, ask and deliver creates clients, delivery and generation creates proof, and round you go, generating people, traffic, and eventually money. At the top, you got content. On the side, you got email. At the bottom, you got your offer. On delivery, you've got your product, and then you run it round and around and around and around. This is what I would describe, or what we call, the profitable creator engine. Now, for everything that you do in your business, for everything that you could possibly spend your time on, you are either generating, capturing, asking, or delivering. And if you just focus on each of those 4 things, you will make an enormous amount of money. If you've ever wondered how Time to Build has helped create 6.1 million in student wins, this is that system. So this is essentially, if you imagine this symbol, is our compass that we use to diagnose and prescribe for students. And so most of the time, by simply looking at this and then looking at what they're doing, we're able to see, okay, this person needs to work within the generation section, or this person needs to work within capturing, or this person needs to work within asking, or this person needs to work within delivering. Now, each of our students have pretty much their entire system mapped out. This is a pretty basic roadmap of what they have access to. So obviously generation has profitable personal branding, the Beg to Buy framework, the trust framework. Capturing has the automated email sequence, indoctrination on-ramp, content to lead system. Asking has lean launch, 6-figure, APSMD. Delivery has built for you, transformation blueprint, and the Ascend product. Now today, we're going to be covering the Beg to Buy framework, which is a monster. But just to put into the entire bigger picture of what we're talking about, this is what we're going to focus on today. And the reason is because the truth is that if you don't have this foundational setup, the Beg to Buy framework, none of the other components work. And so this is probably the most important ingredient of the entire set, because without this, the base of your pyramid is fucked. And so this is the profitable creator pyramid. And I wanted to run through this just so you're all crystal clear before we dive into the actual content today. So at the bottom, you've got generate, capture, ask, and deliver. At the bottom, you're trying to go from no traffic to high traffic. On the next level, you're trying to go from no demand to high demand. On the next level, you're trying to go from no revenue to high revenue. And at the very top, you're going from no proof to high proof. That's the mission. Each of the elements has their own roadmap. And the wider that you can make the base of your pyramid, the bigger that your pyramid becomes. And so this base that you're trying to build dictates the height of your pyramid. The amount of revenue that you can make is dependent on how well you create content that connects with your audience and converts viewers into fans and fans into buyers. Is everyone across that? Does that make sense? Cool. So our goal is for the ass of our pyramid to be as big, fat, and juicy as humanly possible. And so my goal today is I'm going to build you a big, fat, juicy ass. We all having fun? All right, let's do this. So the Beg to Buy framework has 3 components. Does everyone have the worksheet open? Can I just get a thumbs up from everyone? Does everyone have the worksheet open? All right, is everyone following? Because a few of you were pretty late, so I just want to make sure we're all good. Before I go and build you a big ass, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Cool. All right. So the Beg to Buy framework has 3 components, and they all need to be working in tandem. And those components are your avatar, mission, and story. Your avatar and mission creates your audience, mission and story creates reputation, and avatar and story creates trust. And those together create an audience that will beg to buy from you. And so part 1 for today is your avatar. At its core, profitable personal branding, and this is essentially the backbone of not only personal branding, but business. And I want you to kind of separate those 2 components. This is a deeper task, but I want you to separate content creation, the transformation you're trying to take someone on in terms of content creation, and the transformation you'll take someone on in terms of your business. Those are 2 different transformation pathways. But at its core, profitable personal branding is taking someone from pain to pleasure. The entire purpose of creating content online is to take someone from pain to pleasure. And so if you can make your entire focus how you can navigate this pathway, you'll be more profitable. And your profitability is determined by how well you can take someone from pain to pleasure. And so if you can get someone a little bit of the way there, you can make $5,000 a month. And for full disclosure, I pulled these numbers out of my ass, completely arbitrary. But if you can take someone a little bit along the journey, you might make 5,000. If you can take someone a little bit further along the journey, it might be 20. If you can take them all the way or most of the way, it might be 100. And if you can take them all the way to pleasure, well, then you're going to be making $1 million plus. And so this process of how you can navigate this journey is your entire mission. Obviously, the first step on that journey is figuring out who that journey is for. And so you can't know where their pain is and where their pleasure point is until you know who specifically that is for. And so the first step on this list is to identify who your avatar is. Your dream follower avatar. Now, we have a worksheet for this. So I want each of you to open up that worksheet and we're going to work through this together. So you've got these questions in front of you now, I would imagine. Can you all give me a thumbs up if you've got these questions in front of you now? Okay, cool. So the first step, who is your dream follower? Now, you've got a few options for this. Option number 1, which I would imagine some of you are probably suitable for, is maybe you've already got a bit of an audience or maybe you've already got a product and you've got people in mind that you've spoken to, you've had DM conversations with, they've come into your business before, maybe they're clients, and these are people that represent what you see as your dream follower. And by the way, if you want to turn your knowledge into an online business, there'll be a link in the top line of the description. Head to that link, join Time to Build, and I'll see you on the inside. For me, I have clients inside Time to Build who are my favorite. And so whenever I do this activity, I think of those particular clients. And so for you, maybe you've got names that you could actually list. And you don't need to tell me those names, but you can write those names out. Option number 2 is you can just put their traits. So are they male? Are they content creators? What do they do? How old are they? What kind of person are they in this situation? Option number 3 is you can just say dream follower 1, dream follower 2, dream follower 3, so on and so forth. And so for this, I'm just going to put, to make it nice and easy for all of you, dream follower 1, dream follower 2, and dream follower 3. But again, the longer that you spend on these activities, I'm going to blaze through this today, but the longer that you spend on these activities, the more beneficial it'll become. And so if you can spend a bit of time thinking about either followers that you've got, people you know, even friends, right? If you've got friends in your real life who you would perceive as your dream follower, it would be beneficial to put their names in here so you can actually think about them specifically as you come up with the traits. Step 2 is the traits. So what do these people have in common? What does your dream follower or each of your different dream followers have in common with one another? And so do they share the same interests? Are they the same level of motivation? Are they on the same level when it comes to their business? So how far along are they? Are they highly motivated? Are they fairly autonomous? So they're the kind of people where you could tell them to do something and they get their batteries included type motherfuckers. The type of people that actually do shit when you tell them to do something. Are they advanced creators? Are they intermediate creators? Are they beginner creators? What level are they at on their journey? And so come up with the level. I'm going to say intermediate. How old are they? Are they in their 20s? Are they in their 30s? Are they in their 40s? How old are they? I'm going to say 29 to 39. I'm going to say content creator. I'm going to say online coach, etc., etc. Question 3 is pain. Where are they right now? What pain are they going through that's keeping them where they are? And so maybe it's struggling to make money. Maybe it's unsure of avatar. No direction. You can go a little bit broad. So talk about their wider pains. What are the things that they're experiencing in their life that are keeping them where they are? So lack of confidence. Go through and list at least 7 in terms of what you want to do or in terms of what pains they're experiencing. And then finally for this question, outcome. Where are they trying to go? I'm going to say at least 50K per month. Online business. Time freedom. Location freedom, financial freedom, all of the freedoms essentially. Where are you trying to help them achieve or where are you trying to help them get to? And again, each of these questions, the more detail you can get into, the more beneficial this activity will become. So I'm going to blaze through this, but go through in detail and answer at least 9. I've got 9 listed here. At least 9. The more you do, the better this is going to become. The next one, and this is going to take you a not insignificant amount of time, but I want you to answer 3 questions. Fears. What are their deepest fears? Struggles, what's holding them back? And dreams, what are their goals? This will take you a while. And for context, to show you the extent at which I have done this for myself, this is my dream avatar. And this is the write-up that I've done for each of them. And I'll tell you about this afterwards, but the longer that you can get into this, what are their goals? What are their dreams? What are they passionate about? What are their deepest fears? Go into enormous detail about who these people are. This is Ben and Grace, by the way, and I'll introduce you to them in a little while. But the point is, you want to essentially do a write-up of who these people are and what they're about. And so what are their deepest fears? Maybe it's never succeeding financially to the point where they can support their family. I remember years ago when I was first starting my business, we're talking 9 or 10 years ago now, I used to have a fear that by going out on my own and leaving my job, that I would never get to the point where I could support my family financially enough to afford a nice house, go on nice holidays, do the things that I thought I wanted to do with my family. That was a deep fear of mine. And by starting my business, I was forfeiting that ability to do those things. And so that's a fear. What are the fears that your audience have? What are the struggles? The struggles refers to how they're holding themselves back. And so do they struggle with confidence when making content? Do they struggle with putting themselves out there? Do they struggle with a fear of judgment? What are the things that they struggle with? And dreams, what are their big goals? What are their long-term goals? What are the long-term visions? Do they want to have enormous impacts? Do they want to make millions of dollars? Do they want to start a charity? Do they want to speak on stages? Do they want to write books? Do they want to become an author? Who is the person and what are their biggest dreams? And so again, like I showed you for Ben and Grace, who I'm about to introduce you to in a second, you want to go into enormous detail with each of these. Then you have your final write-up for the avatar. And for this might feel a little bit silly, but I want you to refine it down to one single person. One single person for this situation. So I want you to take all of your answers that you've just given and go name, age, gender, job, income, 3 highest values, 3 biggest pains and problems, and 3 biggest goals and dreams. And so I'm going to do this now. And Austin, I'm looking at you right now. I'm going to use you. I don't know anything about you, Austin, but I'm going to use your situation and I'm going to say, my dream follower is Austin. I'm going to assume your age, bro. I'm going to say 24. Was I right? A little bit higher. I'm going to say, let's say 24. Gender, male. Job, I'm going to say freelancer. And for income, let's say 80,000 a year. Now, for the 3 highest values, you can kind of project your own values onto your dream follower. A good exercise in general is to imagine that your dream follower is either a younger, alternate, or older version of you. And so most of the time, my dream followers are either a younger version of me, an alternate reality version of me, Spider-Verse type shit, or an older version of me who went down a little bit of a different trajectory. And so for my highest values, it's wealth building, teaching. I value teaching enormously. And I'm going to say training, which is a little bit random, but it's high up on my values list. And so training. 3 biggest fears and pains or problems. 3 biggest pains and problems. Lack of financial stability. I'm going to say, what's number 3? 3 biggest pains and problems. Lack of financial stability, fear of judgment, and content isn't working. And then biggest goals become New York Times author, speak in front of 10,000 people, and make $100 million. 3 biggest goals. Now that you have your one person, I want you to start to visualize who this person is. Who is this person in your mind? Do they look like Austin? Do they look like Kelsey? Do they look like Jack or Daryl or Zoom user or Madison? Who do they look like? Who do they represent in your mind? Have a visual of who this person is. The more clear you can get about who this person is, the more impactful this activity will become. The next step, and this again is not something that I can do for you, but I want you to think about your transformation pathway. What's the thing that you have that you're going to help people with? And out of health, wealth, or relationships, the three eternal markets, which one do you think your dream avatar is most motivated by? Are they most motivated by health? Are they most motivated by wealth? Or are they most motivated by relationships? Because every single transformation pathway that you can take someone on, both professional and just in a general relationship, is going to be motivated by one of those transformation paths. It's always health, wealth, or relationships. And so your situation now is to pick one of these. I'm going to say wealth because I am most motivated by wealth. And I would imagine most of my audience is most motivated by wealth. And this process now is to go through and write 9 pain moving away from motivations. So what are the fears that they're moving away from? And what are the pleasures that they're moving toward? What are the pains that they're trying to move away from? And what are the pleasures that they're moving toward? And so again, to show you an example of the extent at which this is true, these are my motivations or my examples of moving away from pain in regards to wealth and moving toward pleasure in regards to wealth. And so everyone around me makes more money than I do. I thought I'd be making more money by now. And these are what I would put onto my audience. And so some of you may relate to these very things. I thought I'd have financial security by now. I'm worried I'll never be able to afford the things I want in life. I hate my job and want to be my own boss. I have no savings, no real prospects for the future. And I'm worried I'm fucked financially. I'm worried this business will never turn into something real and sustainable. I'm falling behind in life. I just don't know or understand how to make money or make the kind of money I want. And then moving towards pleasures is I love cars and I want to drive insert car one day. I want to build a business that can self-fund my passions. I love motorsport and I genuinely want to become a race car driver. And so I want to start a business so I can just buy my own race car and become a race car driver. By my late 30s and 40s, I want to be work optional. I want to build a wealth machine that can allow me and my family to support matters that are important to us, donate money, start charities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I love racing Ironmans, and so I want the freedom, both time, location, and financially in order to do that. I want to use my business to accelerate towards full financial freedom and create an income that can support me and my family's dream lifestyle whilst having work be fully optional. And so go into enormous detail, and the more that you can draw from your own experiences, the more beneficial this is going to be, because the deeper you're going to cut those pains and desires, right? And so if you're very motivated by wealth, or you're very motivated by health, or you're very motivated by relationships, pick the one that you're most motivated by and go into enormous detail. This list will then form every piece of content that you make is either pulling people away from pain or pushing them toward pleasure. Every single time that you make anything, that becomes the direction of every piece of content you make, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Thumbs up if that makes sense. All right. And the final one is you're now going to pick. So what's the starting place of your audience? Where do they find themselves right now? And where are you leading them to? Where are you helping them achieve, or where are you helping them eventually get to? You're going to pick those 2 locations. Again, the deeper you can go into this activity and the more time you spend on it, the easier this answer is going to be. Obviously, I've blazed through this, but you want to pick that starting point and you want to pick the end point. So then when we come back to this activity or come back to these slides, you know exactly what pain you're helping them get away from and what pleasure you're helping them get towards. So hopefully you can get a lot closer to over here as opposed to over here. The less clarity you have, the harder this is going to be. And so you need to get crystal clear about exactly what you're helping them achieve. All right. Now, since you now have your avatar, and I want you to just, in a really basic sense for the rest of this lesson, I want you to think about a specific person. You don't need to have gone into enormous detail with this lesson yet and with this worksheet, because that's yours now. You can do that. But I want you to think of one person. Maybe it's a follower you already have. Maybe it's someone in your audience. Maybe it's a friend who you feel a deep connection to and you want to help them in some way in your life. Try to think of someone specifically. Every single piece of content you make from now on is for that person and only them. Every single piece of content you make is for that one person and no one else. You should know your avatar better than they know themselves. And so if you've ever had the experience with my content, I don't know if any of you have. This is probably a little bit out of pocket to say this. But if any of you have ever had the experience with my content where you go, fucking hell, it feels like Tom's reading my mind, it's because I literally am. Whatever part of your story related most to my dream avatar, I know it better than you know yourself. And so when you think I'm reading your mind, it's because I literally am. And so let me introduce you to Ben and Grace. This is Ben and Grace, and this is an activity that I get my students to do, and you are more than welcome to do, especially with how good image generation is. These images are mid-journey from 2023, so I could probably update these and actually look photorealistic now. But these are Ben and Grace, my dream avatars, and they have been my dream avatars since early 2023. And so I know these people as if they were my closest friends. And so everything I do, everything I make, every piece of content I produce, everything I add the time to build, every single thing, this whole lesson is designed to help these two move away from pain and towards pleasure. I'm not thinking about such and such follower. I'm not thinking about Kelsey. I'm not thinking about Ash. I'm not thinking about Christopher. I'm thinking about Ben and Grace. And by proxy, I am helping all of you. And so the deeper that you can understand your dream avatar, the more specific your content becomes and the deeper it hits for people. And so I don't have a niche, I have Ben and Grace. If you remember one thing from this lesson, you don't have a niche, you have an avatar. I don't have a niche, I have Ben and Grace. And so Ben and Grace are both entrepreneurs. They're both content creators. They both love endurance sport. Ben's a petrol head and Grace loves interior design. They both have enormously high values on wealth building. Ben's a freelance creative and Grace runs a women's empowerment brand. And so all of those things are fair game in my content. I could talk about my passion for interior design. I could talk about my love of motorsport. I could talk about the fact that I love endurance sport. I could talk about how obsessed I am with fucking running to the point where it's actually huge stress in my life. I could talk about all those things and it's fair game because Ben and Grace relate to it. And so where some people might see it as being too broad, having no niche, you got to stick within the business space. It's like, no, you can actually just talk about the things that your avatar relates to. And so you do not have a niche, you have an avatar. Can you see how my audience might sometimes feel like, Tom, you're reading my mind? And it's because I am. And I know them better than they know themselves in some situations. And so before I do that, I want to read this to you just so some of you can kind of get a picture of how detailed this is. And so I'll introduce you first to Ben. My first dream follower is Ben. He's a 29-year-old creative who has always known he was destined for something more. He spent a lot of his younger years really unsure. Internally, he felt solid. He was passionate about his fitness, passionate about his creative work, but nothing he did seemed to translate into results in the real world. He got okay results at school. He was pressured into going to university for architecture because he was good at drawing. And so his parents were like, you should go and do architecture, but dropped out shortly after his first year and then found himself diving down the rabbit hole of being an online creator and entrepreneur. Now, 6 years later, he's done reasonably well, making enough to get by with the occasional freelance project, a few big wins, and by slowly growing his audience online. But now he feels stuck. He really struggles with the fear that he may never build a legitimate business out of this pursuit, and that terrifies him. The prospect that he may never buy a home, won't be able to take his family on holidays, and won't be able to build the life he dreams about terrifies him. He has the work ethic. He knows he's capable of exceeding even his wildest dreams, but he cannot seem to figure out the missing piece. That's Ben. Hands up if any of you relate to Ben at all. Right? Let me introduce you to Grace. My second dream follower is Grace. She's a 28-year-old creative entrepreneur who's built an audience around her passion for empowering women to chase after their ambition. Unlike Ben, Grace actually did pretty well at school. She's a big people pleaser, and this translated into a desire to make her parents, teachers, and peers proud. But deep down, she always knew that wasn't what she wanted to do for herself. She was always creative, but growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s meant that a creative career wasn't really an option. So it was always discouraged by her parents. They would regularly dismiss her creative exploration as a fun hobby, but never a talent to be nurtured. This all came to a head when halfway through her first year of university studying law, she finally realized that she couldn't do this anymore. So she moved out of her parents' place as they refused to support her unless she was going to university, and started pursuing her interest in building an audience online, telling her story to other girls like her. Now, 6 years later, she's built a decent-sized audience of 18,900 followers, but wants to turn this into a legitimate business. She feels trapped by the process of brand deals and still having to work her day job as a barista to make ends meet. She knows she's capable of so much more and is determined to figure that out. Anyone relate to Grace? Bingo, right? And so the reason I've got these two people and not just one is because I have about a perfect 50-50 split of male and female inside Time to Build. And so I made the decision to do this. I also, as a little bit of a mental exercise, I thought about the forking off of my two realities. So Ben is much more relatable to what I actually did. I was horrific at school, but I have ADHD and hyperfixate on shit. And so I've always wondered if what happened to me later in life with my business and my profession and my obsession with this happened in high school. What happened if I suddenly decided that my brain wanted to become a doctor? Would I have ended up 6 years into my career and realized I didn't like it? And so I took that story, ran with it, and created Grace. And so you can do this. Try to, at some point, go through the process of getting crystal clear about exactly who these people are. The more detailed you can get, the easier it will be to actually integrate into your content. Let me just jump in here for a sec. If you want my help and my team's help turning your knowledge into a profitable online business, I would love to help you do that. If that is you, you are someone who's been making content for a while, you have a particular point of expertise and you want to turn that into a knowledge business, click the link in the top line of the description, have a read about Time to Build. And if you believe it's something that is suitable for you, I would love to see you in there. And so your content needs to be broad while your offer is niched. Your content is broad and your offer is niched, because a reality that so few people ever fucking pay attention to is that 100% follower to buyer conversion is impossible. And if you are constantly trying to convert every single person who chooses to follow you online, you're actually hurting your top end growth, right? And so if you're thinking every single follower who follows me needs to buy from me, you're going to suffer, because you're never going to let yourself actually connect with the people who follow you in the way that you can. Need I remind you that we've got 287 people in here, 1,000 people joined this workshop and only 287 showed up. And this was free. I have 500,000 followers online. If I was overly concerned about converting all of you, I would never do something like this, right? And so some people might hear that and go, only 287 showed up. I hear that and go, that's amazing. It means I can give amazing amounts of value to all 287 of you and feel guilt-free, because I don't need all of you to buy in order for me to run a business. And so if I was to map this out, my social audience is 100%. Just take 100% of whatever your number is. That's your social audience. Your owned audience should be 20%. And these pyramid shapes are not perfectly representative. So for the geometrists in here, geometry nerds in here, I'm sorry, all right? I should have done that properly. Your owned audience is 20%. Your nurtured audience is 10%. And your monetized audience is less than 1% of your total audience. And so I have 506,000 followers online. 1,052 registered for this workshop. And as I make these slides, I was assuming that 500 would show up. Less than 1%, and you didn't even pay. So some people might see that and go, Tom, what the fuck? That's not good. I see that and I'm actually stoked with that number, because it means that I can guilt-free give so much value away for free that some of you feel a responsibility to do business with me. And so my YouTube channel is literally unfiltered 100% value. I don't care about what I give away on YouTube, because I know less than 1% are ever going to do business with me. And so for 99.9% of people who interact with my content, it's always going to be free. They're never going to buy anything, and that's okay with me. And so the moment that you let yourself do that, the moment that you realize that, oh, I'm actually just here to help people, and I'm actually just here to help my dream avatar get from pain to pleasure, and yeah, a small percentage of them will choose to do business with me, but that doesn't really matter, then you have the freedom to actually connect with them as human beings. Because at the end of the day, content creation is just building a bunch of relationships with thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of strangers online at the same time. That's all you're really doing. Does everyone feel happy with their avatar? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling hyped up about your avatar. Let me go through the slides. We've got 12 iterations of Zoom going on here. Lots of thumbs up going up. This is awesome. All right. Let me go back to my slide. Part 2 is your mission. This is where we take the abstract and we make it a little bit more business related. And so we've gone a bit woo-woo with the avatar, the person we're trying to help, the big, broad content strategy that you're going to do. We're now going to bring that back to center with something that's a bit more specific. All right. Now, you need to be, in order to turn this into a business, you need to be crystal clear about your reason for being. Your brand's reason for being. Why does your brand exist? What's the purpose of your brand existing for other human beings? This is the purpose that your content serves in the world. So, if you just remember this sentence, it'll make content creation a lot easier to get across in your mind. So forget about the word algorithm, forget about the fucking word platform, forget about consistency, forget about all of those phrases, and just remember this one sentence. Your ideal avatar is trading their value, time, for your value, expertise. In exchange, you receive value in the form of leverage, traffic. And so content creation at its root is an exchange of value. You're exchanging your value, which is expertise, with other human beings in exchange for their value, which is time. And as a byproduct, you receive traffic. That's the entire purpose of content creation. And so the easiest way to do this in terms of establishing a mission is to take your expertise. What are you the best in the world at, or what are you great at, and combine it with one of the 3 eternal markets. What are you great at? What are you really exceptional at? Some of you are probably yoga instructors. Some of you are wellness coaches. Some of you are fitness coaches. Some of you are mindset, maybe business, whatever it is. Take the thing that you're exceptional at and combine it with one of the eternal markets. Because at the end of the day, you might be thinking, hold on, Tom, I don't know about that. I feel like, how does yoga connect with health, wealth, or relationships? It's not necessarily that you need to give health, wealth, or relationships. It's that your outcome, your dream outcome for that follower needs to relate to helping them conquer some kind of dream desire within the realm of health, wealth, or relationships. And so how could helping someone become a better content creator integrate into health, wealth, or relationships? How could helping someone become fitter help them integrate into health, wealth, or relationships? How could helping someone become more confident integrate into health, wealth, or relationships? What is the specific one that is the primary motivation for them seeking out your piece of expertise? At the center is a profitable mission. So we're going to answer these questions together, but we're going to go through them first. Number 1, what am I the best in the world at? I saw a lot of your faces go, I don't think I'm the best in the world at anything, Tom. What are you talking about? I want you to be a little bit ambitious. All right? Need I remind you that you're here because you want to build an audience of other human beings that want to follow you for a point of expertise, right? And so if you don't have the confidence to look at yourself in the mirror and go, I'm the best in the world at something, that is a worthwhile pursuit. And so if you don't currently feel like you're the best in the world at something, what do you want to be the best in the world at something? What's the thing that you want to be known for? What's the thing that you want other people to look at you and go, Vicky is the best in the world at this thing. Austin is the best in the world at this thing. Anthony is the best in the world at this thing. What is that thing? Question number 2. What does no one ever have to remind me to do? I'm sure you have things in your life that no one ever has to remind you to do them. Maybe it's reading. You're obsessed with reading. What topics do you love to read about, and does no one ever have to remind you to read? For me, No one ever has to remind me to go for a run. No, there's not a day that goes by where I don't shift and adjust and integrate fucking astrophysics to move my calendar in a way that means that I can go for a run that day. No one ever has to remind me to go for a run. And so that, to me, is that, or wealth building. No one ever has to remind me to invest. What would I love to help people with? What do I feel a calling to help people with? What do I feel a calling to teach? I feel a calling to help people build wealth. That is a huge, huge calling for me. And it will become crystal clear in a little while why that's the case. But I have a huge calling to help people build wealth. And so a crystal clear mission for me is helping content creators build wealth through ownership of their expertise. Question 4, what can I be paid for? What would other people pay you for? Maybe you're really good in interior design. Maybe you're a big nerd. You love your apartment. You love your space. Maybe it's something that you could be paid for. Maybe you're a good content creator. Maybe you're a fitness coach. Maybe you're really good with tech. What could you be paid for? And question number 5, what transformation do I want to be known for? So if you were responsible for helping people go from A to B, what would you want that to be? And so I would want to be known for helping people make money online. That's a transformation that I would like to be known for. I would like people to go, that's that Tom guy. He's fucking exceptional at that. That's what I want to be known for. And so thankfully, we've got a workbook for this. So I want you to open back up your workbooks and I want you to go to Mission Finder. Mission Finder for that page. And you're going to answer these questions as honestly as you can. This is not the time to have be self-conscious. No one else is going to see these answers. You're obviously going to see my answers, which is intimidating, but I'm not going to see yours. And so be as honest, be as ego-driven, be as unfiltered as you possibly can. So, ambition. I am the best in the world at helping content creators start info product businesses. Passion. No one ever has to remind me to invest my money. Go for a run. Create content. Vocation. I'd love to help others do what? What would you love to help others do? I would love to help others build wealth through an online business. Profession. What could I be paid for? Content, information. Let's put Iron Man coaching. Why not? And then legacy. What do I want to be remembered for? Helping others make fuck loads of money. That's a big motivation for me. I would love nothing more than a bunch of you to text me in like 10 years on Instagram and go, Tom, I never bought your product, but I joined the Beg to Buy Masterclass and I just fucking made $500,000 or $1 million or $5 million. I would love nothing more than that. That is a huge source of motivation for me. And so if there was anything that I would want to be on my fucking tombstone, it's he made a bunch of people rich. That would be awesome. Then, and again, this is not something that comes easily. Like, and if you're feeling intimidated by this, you're like, hold on, Tom wants me to do my brand mission now. I don't know what it is. Spend some time after this call going through this process. The more time that you can spend on this, the better ultimately. We only have so much time together, obviously, but the more time you can spend on this, the better. And so my brand mission, genuinely, and this is not my business mission, but my brand mission is get younger Tom rich. That's my brand mission. Get younger Tom rich. That is my whole mission with all of my content. Get younger Tom rich. And so, or help younger Tom get rich. And so, again, my content mission is really broad, the same way we've gone with our avatar, whereas my business mission is help creators build businesses by selling their expertise. And so my content mission, help younger Tom get rich, also encapsulates wealth building. I'm going to start talking about wealth building and investing and all those things that I'm also simultaneously interested in. But my business mission is just help content creators sell their expertise. And so make sure that you're not conflating your business mission, your offer, with what you're making content about. Go broad, make it big, and you can go from there. All right, story. Does everyone feel, a few people, put your missions in the chat if you've got someone or got one that you feel like you're confident with. Put in the chat if you feel like you've got something you're most of the way there with. If you're feeling bold, that is. All good. If not, helping founders. Oh my God, the chat is crazy. Helping founders and teams ship workflows with AI. Nice. Troy. Could you broaden that, Troy? I feel like that's a business mission. Is that good enough that you could make content about it forever? I feel like that's a good business mission, but it's a little bit too specific. Help younger Howie find joy. That's great, Howard. I'm best in the world at analyzing situations and providing valuable feedback and plans. Nobody has to remind me to read about politics, learn about business, create content, video, photography. I love to help people embrace their skills and things they are good at and use it to make money. Others would pay me for creative content, photography, business, videography. I want to be remembered for being a solid guy who tried to help people when it could. Help people find and live purposeful lives. I want people to explore the world. Help younger Blake build the confidence he needs. Helping creators build premium brands and businesses. Yeah, great. This is awesome. Well done, guys. I love that you guys are actually fucking working. I love that you're doing something. This is good, right? Let me put this thing back. Something fell off the bottom of my desk and hit me on the knee. One sec. There we go. All right. Part 3. Story. This is probably going to be a lot more revealing than you expected, this aspect of this lesson, but it's important because it's going to signify how powerful this is. This ingredient, story, if you place any of your focus anywhere, this is the least integrated and the most important. All of you are holding yourselves back when it comes to this, and I don't even have to know you or know your content to know that that's true. And so if you take anything away from the rest of this class, try to integrate this aspect as much as possible because this will have the biggest impact on your brand, on your ability to get people to buy, on your ability to build trust with people, on everything that you do. People will listen to you because of your core mission, the mission that we've just established, right? They'll listen to you because they'll go, he's helping younger Tom get rich and I want to get rich. Or Matt's helping creatives unlock their potential. And so I'm going to listen to Matt. But they'll purchase because of who you are. They'll listen because of what you do, but they'll purchase because of who you are. We do not buy the coaching, we buy the coach. And that is always true. And so if you want people to buy from you, they need to know who you are. Instead of thinking, how can I build an audience? I want you to think, how can I build a relationship with the people who choose to follow me online? Instead of thinking, how can I build an audience? Think, how can I build a relationship with the people who choose to follow me online? Personal branding is just relationship building at scale. You guys have heard me talk about this so much if you follow any of my content. You're building a relationship with these people. If it's one avatar, if it's two, whatever. For me, I'm just trying to build a relationship with Ben and Grace. I'm trying to show them and tell them my story so they can connect with me and in turn build a relationship. And relationships are built with vulnerability. There's no way else to do it. You cannot have intimacy without vulnerability. It's crucial. The same way friendships are deepened with vulnerability and understanding, so too is your audience's ability to know, like, and trust you. You cannot have intimacy without vulnerability. I want to tell a little story. Just to reiterate the first time I had this presented to me in a way that was incredibly impactful. So I was at a creator event about 2 years ago now. And I was at this event and I love keynote speakers. I love that. I have a huge ambition to become a keynote speaker eventually. And it's something that I admire a lot. But we were offered the opportunity to go and listen to someone speak. And this lady was a reality TV star. And it was like reality TV star talking about production on set. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I really need to go to this one. Doesn't sound like something I'm going to learn from a reality TV star telling me about video production. Does she even know what fucking video production? Like, she's just a reality TV star. She's not on the crew. And so I go to this event because I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to listen. It'll be fine, whatever. And I go to this event and this lady's speaking and she was the winner of the first season of, I think it was like Alone or Afraid, Lost and Afraid or something. One of those shows where they send them off into the wilderness and let them just figure it out for themselves. And this lady starts speaking. She's talking about production and all this sort of stuff. And my eyes are kind of glazing over. I was like, oh, fuck it. Why did I come to this? I'm stuck here for an hour now. And this lady starts speaking. She's talking about how, you know, they put her into the woods and she was sent off into the wilderness and all this sort of stuff and all that sort of jazz. And then she gets to a moment about 15 minutes into the talk. 15 minutes into the talk, she gets to a moment and looks at the audience and she goes, I was there on the first night and I began to hallucinate. And she goes, in that moment, I finally forgave myself for murdering my daughter. And the whole room, just exactly like Kelsey did, the whole room just sat back and was like, what? And she leans in and she goes, 5 years before the show, I was diagnosed with leukemia and she had cancer. And 6 months after diagnosis, found out she was pregnant. Now, this lady was in her late 30s at the time. And so a pregnancy that she'd wanted her whole life, she'd never had kids, she'd wanted her whole life came in her late 30s, 6 months after a cancer diagnosis. The doctors pleaded with her to abort the baby because there's the likelihood of the baby surviving radiation therapy and all the other therapies of cancer is very low. She didn't. She survived her cancer diagnosis, went into remission, had the baby, and the baby died 18 months after it was born. And she never forgave herself for that until the first night on this show where she's in the woods by herself and she had a moment where she hallucinated as if her now 6-year-old daughter was there standing in front of her saying, Mum, I forgive you for what you did. And the whole room's fucking crying. And this lady then stops and says this line, you cannot have intimacy without vulnerability. And she thinks that the reason why she was able to do as much as she has in her life is because she's been willing to be intimate. She's been willing to be vulnerable and share these stories and talk about this stuff in a setting that most people would think is insane. And so in a moment, I went from who is this reality TV star telling me about how to be a video production assistant, whatever, to now leaning all the way in. And for the rest of the talk, I listened to every single word. I now follow her. I now keep up with everything. I've read her books. I'm a diehard fan of this woman. And so in one moment, one story, she gave us a backstory or gave me a backstory that then informed every other opinion I had about everything else that she did. That's how powerful vulnerability is if you really use it. And so the deeper that you're willing to take your audience, the greater the impact of your content and business will be. To do this, we want to create 3 key emotions with our content. 3 key emotions. Relatability, admiration, and inspiration. This is what I call brand width. Does your brand, does your content cover the full width of human experience? You do this by where you were is relatable, where you are is admirable, and where you're going is inspiring. And so the more that your content fills out this timeline, where you were, where you are, and where you're going, the more your audience will be able to connect with you. And so for me, here's a little photo. I don't know if you guys can see this on the call, but you'll be able to see it on the slides. This is me working on the replays team at the Boxing Day test in 2018, I think. I thought this job was fucking sick. I was sitting on the sidelines. I was young. I was like watching the cricket from literally on the ground, working on the replays team. It was pretty cool. This is the launch of my Photoshop for content creators, my first online course that was a huge failure. This is me completing my first Ironman, 9:35 Ironman. I was incredibly proud of that moment. This is me deciding, or one of the first photos I took when I decided to come back and give this another shot. This is where I'm trying to go now. So where I am is obviously admirable, where I am right now, but where I want to go. I want to get to 1.2 million followers in the next 12 months. I want my revenue for business to be $5.24 million. Time to build wins. I want to eventually get time to build wins to $500 million. That would be really awesome. Obviously, you guys know my olive green 992.2 GT3. And then we have a little saying. Daniel's just in my living room, my 2IC. We have a saying in Time to Build called 2010 and undeniable. 20 million a year in revenue, 10 killers on the team, and undeniable category leaders in helping creators build 6- and 7-figure online businesses. That's our big goals for Time to Build. 2010 and undeniable. And so this is the full spectrum of my story, or the full spectrum of my experience. Where I was is relatable, where I am is admirable, and where I'm going is inspiring. This is your origin story. This whole thing is your origin story. If any of you are big nerds like I am, like Halo and Warhammer nerds, this is your lore, the canon of your brand that creates interest in everything that you do. And so you want to essentially think about every time you integrate some random story from your past, you're increasing the width of the canon of your brand. It's essentially what you're doing. And so you want to think of your personal brand like an iceberg. Your origin story is everything that sits below the surface. And so just like an iceberg, the deeper you can take your audience, the stronger their understanding of what lies above the surface will be. And so you might see a tiny little iceberg in the water and then realize it's a huge thing under the water. And by understanding what's underneath the water, you have a bigger appreciation for that tiny little iceberg above the water. And so this is your personal branding iceberg. At the top is what everyone sees. This is the day-to-day value content. This is what you do. This is what you're known for. Your personal brand is what lies just beneath the surface. And the very bottom that no one ever really sees is your origin story that led you here today, that provides context for everything else that you do. And just like an iceberg, the more your audience knows what lies beneath the surface, the better they can understand and connect with what sits above. So I want you to think about someone that you're most drawn to. I want you to think of someone specific. Can everyone give me a thumbs up when you're thinking of someone specific? A content creator, a business person, an author, someone specific that you follow online. Everyone give me a thumbs up. Chat's going crazy. Awesome. Tom Noske. Don't use me. Use someone else. Peter McKinnon. Nice. All right. Why do you like them so much? Why do you like them so much? I can guarantee that the first thing that comes to mind has nothing to do with what they do and has everything to do with who they are. I guarantee you the reason that you guys said you like Peter McKinnon so much had nothing to do with photography and everything to do with what makes Peter Peter. Alex Hormozi, Layla Hormozi, Matt Gray, Tony Robbins, all of these people, it's who they are. But here's the kicker. You only know who they are because they chose to share it with you. Right? You didn't make that up. They made a piece of content intentionally that showed you who they are, and that is now the first thing that comes to mind when you think of them. So many creators are so shit scared of talking about their own story, so scared of talking about themselves and their backstory and what made them them, but it is the most important piece of content you could possibly make, and it is not even close. No piece of value has more weight than your story. And guess what? By telling your story, that value now has more weight. Because when people hear that value, they know your origin story and they go, fuck, that's so relatable because Tom had that backstory. And so now that he's talking about this point of value, I know that's related to this story that he had and this experience that he had. And so now I'm going to listen more intently to this piece of value. And so the thing that you fear making the most is the thing that you need to make the most. They chose to make a piece of content that diverged so far from their niche, and you're now more connected to them because of it. Why do you think Superman was a country boy from Kansas? Why do you think fucking Stan, like the author of the original Superman comics, just did that for shits and gigs? Or do you think he did that because a country boy from Kansas is much more relatable than an alien with infinite powers? Right? We relate to an alien who crash landed on Earth as a baby and grew up with seemingly infinite powers because he was a country boy from Kansas. Right? We believe in him because of who they are, not what they do. People will believe in you not because of what you do, but by how much they relate to the story that created you. So let me prove this works. I've got 3 stories. In June of 2022, when I finished my Ironman, crossing this finish line, I was $12,000 in credit card debt. I had no money left in 2022. I had kind of committed to doing this Ironman, and I had no job, and I'd stopped doing I was running a freelance video production company all the way up until COVID. And then the government had paid us. I've made a little bit of money from NFTs. I took all that cash and I was like, I'm going to do an Ironman. Well, about 5 months before my Ironman, I ran out of money. And so I had started paying for all of my bills and my rent on a credit card for the 5 months leading up to the finish line because I wanted to get there. And so I didn't want to go and get a job halfway through. I was like, I've just got to fucking get to the finish line. I was so broke that I was paying my rent with cash advances because some of you have credit cards know you can't pay your rent on a credit card, but you can take a cash advance, meaning that I was paying instant interest of 23% on my rent. When I came back, my bargaining chip with me, so I came back in June of 2022 and I was like, I'm going to give this one last shot, this content creator business thing. My bargaining chip with myself was if I get to 20,000 in debt, I'll quit for good. If I get to my credit limit, which was 20 grand, that'll be it. I'll quit for good. And so with that context, you're no longer listening to a social media guru. You're listening to someone who is desperate and figured it the fuck out. Right? You're not listening to someone who's like this fucking high and mighty, holier than thou content creator who's like, thinks they're better than everyone else. You're listening to someone who's like you, who is desperate and figured it out. I was bullied in high school for being dumb. I was picked on a lot for being dumb. I'm mildly dyslexic. The story of my diagnosis was I was in the first grade. And you know, in primary school, how your teacher would kind of tell you you come back from holidays and the teacher would be like, let's do an essay about your holidays. Well, I came back from holidays, summer holidays in the first grade, and I was, that I didn't know at the time, dyslexic. And so I hadn't learnt how to write. I hadn't learnt like what direction to write, which hand to write with. I'm actually ambidextrous for this reason. I write with my left hand and do everything else with my right because I never actually learnt which hand to write with. So all through primary school, I wrote with both hands. And so I was looking around the room at the start of this class and I'd forgotten. I was like, I've not written all summer. I don't know which hand to write with or which direction to write in. And my left hand just felt more comfortable. And then I looked around the room and I saw everyone writing away from their hand with their right hands. And so I wrote away from my hand with my left hand. And I wrote 3 pages about my holidays, letters and words backwards, completely backwards. My teacher comes over and stands over my shoulder and looks at my page and fucking panics. This is 2003, 2002. And so my teacher fucking panics, freaks out, sends me to the nurse. The nurse, like I get sent to the nurse with my 3 pieces of paper. I hand it to the nurse. I think the nurse thinks I was having a stroke and sends me to the principal's office. My mum comes to school and I was diagnosed. And so
I'm mildly dyslexic and I have ADD. So I didn't find this out until therapy a couple years ago, but my brother is ADHD, all the way H. Big hyperactivity ADHD guy. Like class disruptor, threw chairs and shit in school like crazy motherfucker. Meanwhile, I'm ADD, none of the hyperactivity. And so I was just the kid at the back of the classroom having no fucking idea what was going on and keeping quiet to myself. And so as a result of those two things, I was picked on a lot in high school for being dumb. My group of friends used to have a tune that they would hum as I was walking around, like Dumbo essentially, and would tease me for things because I would jumble my words. I would say wrong things in sentences. I would, use the word fridge when I actually meant elevator, like just stupid shit because my brain wouldn't work. And so that would happen and I would get bullied for it. And it got to the point in high school where it was so bad that I said to myself, if I just say nothing, there'll be nothing for them to bully me for. If I go to school and I just shut the fuck up and I don't say anything, I won't make any mistakes and then there'll be nothing for them to tease me for. And so in high school, I was bullied into silence. And I carried that with me for years. Most of my 20s, I thought I was a fucking idiot. Genuinely. Most of my early 20s, I thought I was a moron. And then I had a moment where I was with a friend of mine who's a doctor and we're at an event and he has a bunch of doctor friends. And these doctor friends come and I'm having this conversation with a bunch of these 3 doctors. And I was like, oh my God, these fucking crazy people. And I was having this conversation. I was talking about what I did and content and my passion for it and stuff. And this guy just unprompted, don't know who this person is, never saw him again. He just goes, you're really smart. And it hit me like a freight train. I started crying. I had never been told in my life that I was intelligent. Never in my life had anyone said, you're really smart. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because I carried this idea that I was an idiot for a long time. Now, a decade later, I make a living talking on the internet. And so what's crazy is that you can completely transform your life in a very short period of time. Story number 3, my dad went bankrupt when I was 15. So this is my main motivation when it comes to wealth building and why I have such an affection for helping all of you build wealth and make money. Even if you never pay me anything, I would love for you guys to walk away and make some money. My dad went bankrupt. So I grew up quite wealthy. My dad is a country boy from a small town in Australia called Portland, not Portland, Oregon, Portland, Victoria. When he grew up, 6,000 people lived there. And so my mum was one of 9. My dad was one of 6. Country people, country Victorian people. And so my dad was just a hard-working dude who started a trucking company. He sold his first trucking company in 1995 or 1996, I think. And when I was born in 1997, he owned a Ferrari F40, which is this. It's signed by Michael Schumacher. That's me sitting in his F40, and this is me sitting in my older brother's race suit. Ferrari race suit because my brother raced cars because my dad was successful enough that he was able to fund my older brother's racing. I have a stepbrother who's in his 50s, much older than me. He worked his ass off and had 2 successful exits before I was born. So in 1999, like you said, he owned a Ferrari F40, which if any of you know cars, you know that's a fucking crazy reality. I still can't even comprehend that he owned an F40. And he also owned a family home for $800,000 in cash. Country boy, just bought the fucking family home in cash because he's a gangster. But he got greedy. And so a few years, I think I was in the 6th grade, he over-leveraged himself and bought a ridiculous home that he couldn't afford, got a mortgage for the first time in his life. And by 2013, he was bankrupt. He had a business deal with a friend of his go south. We lost our family home and everything we had. And today I support my parents financially. They have nothing. They rent. They're about to be foreclosed on because they just have foreclosed on. Evicted is the right terminology. They have nothing. My parents don't have anything. And so this is my biggest source of motivation, but it is also my biggest source of stress. My relationship with my dad is pretty shit as a result of this because I have a pretty hard time making peace with the fact that supporting them, I'm potentially perpetuating a cycle of poverty in my family. And so I have a really hard time making peace with helping them when I should be helping my future kids and my future family. And so this is a huge source of motivation for me, but also a huge source of stress. And so in 3 sentences, I separated myself from every other person in my niche, right? In the content creator, coaching, fucking business, guru niche. And all I did was give myself an origin story. That's all I did. I didn't tell you some amazing piece of value. I didn't fucking win you over with some crazy thing. All I did was told my origin story. And so you want to get really, really good at telling yours. You want to get really good at telling yours. And it's going to be hard. It's not easy the first time you tell those stories. I've told those stories on stage before, and that was fucking scary. And so you can get really good at this, but it takes time. And so an activity that I'd highly recommend you doing is go through your iPhone camera roll and just as you're going through it, go back as far as it goes and just transfer airdrop photos from each of the years to your desktop and then transfer all of them into a Word document. And I just want you to write what comes to mind as you see those images. This is not an activity that's going to help you with content, but it's going to help you tell your origin story. I have a document that's 31 pages long that's my full origin story. None of you have ever seen it. I'm not going to post it anywhere, but it's just mine that I use so I've got access to it whenever I need it. And so it's a really worthwhile use of your time going back and telling your own story. Human beings love stories. It's how we become attracted to people, places, and things. We fall in love with the story behind it. McKeely and I love Queenstown, New Zealand. We don't love Queenstown, New Zealand because it's any better than every other place. It's because we had our first holiday together there. And so we had our first holiday together there, then we went there again, and then we got engaged there. We're probably going to get married there. Like, we love the place for the stories we have from there, not because of what it is. And so we love stories. We fall in love with stories. We fall in love with everything. And so we have an activity that I'm going to get you guys to do after this call because it's pretty raw. It's pretty real. But I want you guys to go and do the origin story worksheet or origin story activity in the worksheet. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick 7 moments and you're going to tell who were you before this moment? What was the breaking point? So what was the moment that changed everything? And where are you now as a result? So if I was talking about the credit card debt thing, it's like where was I before? I was a struggling freelancer. I'd never really made anything work considerably. I had ridiculously poor financial management skills to the point where I was just spending. I would make a bit of money, drain it to zero, make a bit of money, drain it to zero. I just basically lived my entire life above zero. The breaking point was ending up in huge amounts of debt, even though I shouldn't have been there. I'd made enough money in my life that I shouldn't have been there. And the shift was that I now have what I would call a high level of financial literacy as a result. And so go through those stories. What are the 3 moments? Before, who were you before? Breakdown, what was the breaking point? And shift, where are you now as a result? All right. So I have one more thing for you that I hope revs you up and drives you home in terms of doing this. I have one more thing I want to give you, but first I want to say my piece because I would hope that I've earned my right to say my piece. And so I want to talk about 2 stories of 2 time to build students who have done exceptionally well and I think is a good representation of what you guys would be capable of. And so I want to talk about Annie. Annie joined cohort 12, so just earlier or later last year. And to her, she joined with a little over 2,000 followers and she's a menstrual cycle coach and yoga teacher. And to her, it was a fucking huge risk. This is her message that she put in the chat when she first joined. My name is Annie and I live in a little town on the surf coast of Victoria, just near where I used to live. I'm so excited to be here after umming and ahhing about this course for 6 months now. Literally just drained my business bank account to be here because I believe in this and my business so much. I love spending my time surfing in the garden, doing yoga in nature, traveling with family, friends, and cuddling my dog, a cute little Italian greyhound. And this is a photo of Annie and her greyhound here. And just 60 days later, after Annie became one of the most prolific students that we've ever had in the program, I think out of the messages and posts and commitment and help that she's made in the community, it's like 10 times more than anyone we've ever had. 60 days later, she's done her first 10K launch and she's built her audience by fourfold, which is awesome. So she's turned a 2,500 follower audience into 8,600 and made 10K with her first launch. Nowhere near our biggest win, obviously. But I think what's awesome about Annie's story is she joined, committed, and made progress really fast. We then have Nelson, who's one of our most unique students. He's a professional poker player, if you can believe it. And he joined with nowhere near that audience. He joined with 2,100 followers in cohort 10. And Nelson's funny. He joined as well, put this goal in the chat. It was a big risk for him. He joined saying he wants to become Australia's biggest personal coach for poker players. He wants to make 40,000 in a launch, and he wants to get into the best shape of his life. And again, big risk for Nelson joining the program. But within 2 weeks, Nelson turned 2,200 followers into $10,500 of cash collected. Nelson's story is really funny because he got into the first call of the cohort and he puts his hand up because we normally have hot seat coaching time where like you guys can raise your hands. I'll bring you up to the stage and we just talk about whatever your situation is in relation to that lesson. And he puts his hand up. I bring Nelson up and he goes, "Hey mate, I know you're going to give me this stuff, but can you just open your Google Sheet and give me everything you have in relation to coaching? I want to do this now." And I was like, I love the balls on this guy. Yes, of course. And we just went through. I gave him everything that I was already going to give him over the next 6 weeks. And 2 weeks later, he messages this in the chat and says that he's turned 2,200 followers into 10,500 in cash collected, which was fucking awesome, obviously. But then he's also in the last 12 months grown his audience by 745% and done 2 consecutive launches, the first being 26K. And he just did his first only 2 weeks ago, $50,000 launch. And so he's done amazingly well. The point is, again, these aren't our biggest launches. These aren't our biggest wins, nowhere near. But what I like about these people is that they joined with very little experience in terms of audience growth, about the same size audience, 2,100 to 2,400 followers, and almost immediately they made their money back. And so we're pretty fucking good at this. I would comfortably say that we're the best in the world at this. And so both of these people took a risk, joined, did the work and made their money back fast. So I hope to see you there, honestly. Time to Build is my life's work. It's what I do. It's what I'm best in the world at. It's what we're best in the world at. And so I would love to see you there. All right. I want to leave you with one last thing to rev you up and really fucking get under your skin, make you feel like this is possible. If you want to make money, you need to know your numbers like a fucking psychopath. You need to know your numbers like a lunatic. And so I'm going to find your number for you. I'm going to comfortably assume that most of you in here, with the rare exception, I'm going to assume most of you have either launched something before, reasonably low ticket, or launched coaching before but unsuccessful, or you've made a little bit of money online. Does everyone give me a thumbs up if that's kind of where you're at the moment? You've started out, you're kind of working towards things. This is what you want to do. All right. So let's say you want to make $250K per year and you want to sell a $50 a month membership product. I'm going to use a $50 a month membership product because I feel like that's a very approachable product for pretty much everyone on this call, right? Can everyone agree that that feels like a pretty approachable product? And you keep people on average for 10 months. So what this means is you have a 10% churn. So each month or each year, 10% of your audience leaves. And so you have a 10% churn, meaning that you keep people on average for 10 months. And so you're making on average $500 per customer. You're making $500 per customer. 250,000 divided by 500 equals 500 customers. 500 divided by 12 equals 42, meaning that you need 42 customers per month in order to maintain $250,000 a year with a $50 a month membership. Are we all clear? All right. Now we can take that monthly target and work backwards. So prepare yourself. This dumb person's about to do some math. All right. With my real conversion rate, so this is real. In the last 30 days, my email list has converted 13.6% of new emails collected into customers. 13.6%. My real number. With that number, 42 divided by 0.136, aka divided by 13.6%, equals 308 new emails per month in order to make that money. 308 times 12 divided by 52 means 71 new email addresses per week. With my real conversion rate, so again, in the last 30 days, we converted 1.4 accounts reached, 1.4% of accounts reached total across Instagram and YouTube into email addresses. 71 new email addresses times 0.014 equals 5,071 accounts reached per week in order to create that. Of the total video views I get, 24% of them are unique accounts. So for every video view I get, 1 in 4 of them are unique people. Some of you are watching my videos multiple times, essentially. 5,071 accounts reached times 0.24 equals 21,129 video views to reach 5,071 unique accounts. Let's double it to be conservative, just to make it really, really genuinely conservative. Let's double that view count. 42,258 video views per week. 42,258 video views per week divided by 7 equals 6,037 video views per day. With my numbers, you need 6,037 video views per day to reach 725 unique accounts, to collect 10 emails per day, to make 1.5 sales per day, to earn $500 per customer and make $273,750 a year with a $50 a month membership. 6,037 video views per day to make $273,000 a year. Does that feel possible? Does that feel possible, right? Then go make it real. That's my piece for today. We are going to answer some questions that Daniel has been hopefully collecting throughout the call. Daniel, raise your hand and I'll bring you up as well. And we'll go through and see if we've got any questions that we can answer.
Rock and roll, beautiful, beautiful. Sometimes ops doesn't always go according to plan. Guys, if you haven't already, can you throw a little reaction in the chat or an emoji, how you're feeling after that? I think Tom just gave his absolute best for 90 minutes and that was absolutely world-class, brother. So well done. Well done. Now, in the interest of not going for hours and turning this into a TED Talk, McKeely and myself have been collating all the questions and we've ranked them in order of relevance to today's masterclass. So some of you have asked really relevant questions, but I feel like they might not be relevant to what we've covered and everyone on the call. So if we don't get to cover your question specifically, I'm sorry, just in the interest of time, but hopefully these ones help everyone the most. All right, let's rock and roll, Tom. You ready?
Beautiful. Let's do it.
Awesome. So I've grouped the first 3 together because there's a little bit of overlap as they relate to the dream avatar exercise. So kind of going to work through today's session.
Yeah.
So a question that we had from Rodrigo, I'm going to kind of read it out verbatim and then grab a few others out there. So he said, when you were building your content and offers, did you focus on one ideal customer profile or multiple stages of the same audience? For example, if you help podcasters, you have aspiring and existing podcasters, do you recommend focusing on only one, beginners and existing, or creating separate offers for beginners and for podcasters who want to grow, or building one core offer that supports both stages?
Yep.
Because this is a question we get a lot inside our program. So I thought we'd attack this one.
Yep. So you essentially want to take everything that we've done today. So the specificity around, let me mute your mic, Daniel, because I'm getting feedback. You essentially want to take the specificity we've done today in terms of your audience, your dream follower avatar, and you want to take that and turn it up by 10. And so the person that you're selling to needs to be an ultra specific version of your avatar that you've already got. And so if you imagine me, right, I've got phases along my journey, all the way from 2017 when I first started creating content, all the way through till January 2026, or February 2026, which is now. And so if I was thinking about a product that I was wanting to sell, instead of thinking about I'm going to sell to Tom in general, who's my dream follower avatar, I would think about what specific iteration of Tom am I selling to? Am I selling to 2021 Tom, who was a freelancer going through COVID, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his business? Am I selling to 2017 Tom, who was a beginner content creator and had no real idea what he was doing? Or am I selling to 2026 Tom, who's a 7-figure online business owner and needs help with scaling and team and all that sort of stuff? And so just take what you've already done essentially today and then turn it up to 11. Dial it up so you've got someone ultra specific. But again, this is down to specificity of what's the offer that you're helping someone achieve. So what's the big promise, the actual outcome that someone's going to achieve by interacting with your business, and that will then inform the avatar. And so if your big promise is helping someone go from 50K to 100K per month with their coaching business, well, you're not going to target your beginner avatar who's just started content creation, right? And so all of the ingredients kind of come in together to create the specificity that you're going to help someone achieve. You want to think of each of the components of your business almost like an IKEA toolkit, right? You buy a piece of IKEA furniture and you've got the backboard and you've got the base plate and you've got a bunch of these different things that all come together to create this one thing. Your offer is essentially the same. You've got your blueprint that you're trying to help someone achieve. You've got your avatar that you're trying to specifically go to. You've got your promise, the thing that you're actually getting people to buy your product with. And each of those components each come together to create your product. Don't think of them as like all the one thing. You don't think of your product as just this one globulous orb. Try to think of it as each of the individual components, each of the pieces of intellectual property that are now yours to be used in whatever way you see fit. So the promise, the avatar, the outcome, the blueprint, the delivery mechanism, all of that stuff is unique.
Hope that clarifies. And thank you, Rodrigo, for the question. I'm going to try and combine Tiago and Alex's questions. So thank you to both of you for sharing this one. Tom, we've seen this a lot where we have creators that join the program or sometimes agency owners that are both growing and scaling an existing business, and they're focused on acquiring clients for the business while also starting a personal brand and teaching others how to do the thing at the same time. So like helping a younger version of themselves. Given we've had so many cohorts and hundreds of students ask the same question, what are a couple of options or approaches that you can think about if you're running like a B2B business or an agency, but also trying to build your personal brand? What do you generally recommend or encourage?
It's a tricky one. It depends on your goals. Like I would try to get crystal clear about what your long-term goals are. And so if you're running an agency, like a freelance agency, or you're helping whatever life agency that you're running, if that's your be all end all, if that's the goal that you're trying to achieve, then I would make your personal brand related to you as an entrepreneur. And so do you want to help other entrepreneurs in relation to building an agency or just navigating entrepreneurship or whatever it is? Whereas if your long-term goal is you actually want to do something completely separately, I would almost see your agency as just a means to an end and your personal brand as the primary thing that you want to do. Another option that you can do is try to think of your business brand and your personal brand as two different entities. And so your business brand might be agency, social media profile, examples of your work. That's okay, but view that as kind of just a standalone landing page. Whereas your personal brand needs to be aligned with everything we've spoken about today. So what's the mission? What's the long-term goal that you're trying to achieve? Who's the avatar? And then what is your personal story? As long as you can incorporate those things and think long-term, like the reason why I'm so encouraging of some of the more woo-woo questions that we've talked about, the more esoteric stuff, is because the more clear you can get about where you're going long-term, even if it doesn't feel realistic yet, even if you're sitting there going like, hold on, Tom, I'm a freelance videographer and I want to be like a Tony Robbins level keynote speaker on stage selling millions of books. I would rather you have that vision of the long-term thing than be stuck kind of taking one or two steps from where you are now. Because that long-term vision is going to be so much more impactful in terms of direction than where you are right now. Where you are right now is just where you are right now. You can change that. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And so make sure that you're pushing for the long-term thing. I want to be like, I see someone like a Tim Ferriss, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, Brene Brown, like these people.
I see them as my North Star characters, the kind of people that have been doing this for 20, 30 years. Tony Robbins has been doing this for fucking 50 years. I see them as my North Star. Obviously, what I'm doing right now, I like what I'm doing, but I'm never kind of stuck in where I am right now. I don't see online, coaching, content creation as like the be all and end all. I see like New York Times best-selling author, millions of books sold, translated into dozens of languages, keynote speaker, like that sort of stuff is much more attractive to me. So make sure you're pushing for the long-term vision with your personal brand, and then whatever business you're currently running, if that's what you want to do long-term, great, keep doing that and incorporate that into your personal brand. But if it's not, don't see that as kind of a handbrake that you have to keep using. You can just not include that in your personal brand.
Love it. A shared mentor of ours, Tom, once gave me like a light bulb moment where he's like, the brand that you're guaranteed to finish this planet with your final breath is always going to be your personal brand.
Yes.
And businesses are often those stepping stones, of many evolutions of what you go through. So yeah, I think that's a good zoom in, zoom out. But thank you, Tiago and Alex, and I hope anyone who resonates with that, it's a good way of thinking about it, kind of playing the bigger picture. I'm going to jump into a question we got from Jessica Murray, and I think it got a little bit of love in the chat, so I can't miss this one. Thank you, Jessica. She said, would you change any aspect of this? So basically what we've covered today and your approach overall, right? Would you change any aspect of this if you are working with a brick and mortar business, I think she was meant to say, instead of an online platform?
No, I wouldn't. I like, it depends in the delivery, right? Because back to the goal setting thing, what is the intention of building a personal brand? And so if you just want to start a company that helps brick and mortar businesses do a particular outcome or achieve a particular thing, then do that. But if you want to build a personal brand, you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out of both of those worlds. And so if you want to build a personal brand, the vision in terms of helping brick and mortar businesses is you become the person in that space, right? That's the goal of having a personal brand, is you become the person when it comes to consulting brick and mortar businesses, or you become the person when it comes to logistics, or the person when it becomes to that particular thing. And so in that sense, everything that we've covered today is yes, absolutely. You just need to adjust your avatar. You need to adjust your mission to accommodate for that. And then your story, tell the particular parts of your story that relate most to small business owners that might be going through whatever situation that they're going through that you're helping them with. And so just make sure that you're, like, don't try to play both fields at the same time. Like, there's no point trying to build a personal brand if you're only trying to sell consulting services on the side to small business owners, but also don't try to just do this if you're trying to also build a personal brand. Pick the direction that you want to go in terms of what you want to achieve out of having a personal brand, and then go all in with that. And if you are going all in with a personal brand, there is no better way to do it than by having these 3 components be crystal clear.
Yeah. Got a couple, actually, it might be a great segue in terms of storytelling, Tom. Question that we got both from Sten, thank you, and I think also Rodrigo again, you had a follow-up. I'll just read them back to back, and I'll kind of let you merge them in your response. Sten asked, what if you were just at the figuring out point and don't have the story to prove yourself? How does one overcome that mindset? There's little Ollie having some fun.
Sorry, guys.
He's our 3RC resident doggo.
He's our alarm system.
There you go. Someone's there. Did you hear that first question, Tom, though? That was all right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Second one is, how many origin stories do you normally share on your content? Meaning, do you often share multiple stories or mostly a few? So a bit about the mindset of feeling imposter syndrome around your stories, and then how do you overcome it and share it in your content?
The first one is twofold. I would ask you to ask the question of, like, are you actually that early on? Is there someone a couple steps behind you that you could help? There's almost always certainly going to be someone that you could help with something. Now, it might not be what you want yet, but there could be someone a year from where you are now, or 2 years from where you are now, or 3 years from where you are now, that would love your information. And the irony is that the closer you are to the transformation that you're helping someone achieve, the more relatable you are. Because something happens, right? When I have to really work to remember what it was like when I was trying to build my first product. I have to really work to remember what it was like. Thankfully, I have my business that constantly taps me back into helping people and stuff like that. But if I wasn't running Time to Build, I would have very little memory of what it was like to start my first digital product or try to sell my first course or try to do my first launch or try to do any of that stuff for the first time. And so I'm probably worse to help those people than you might be in terms of helping someone start content creation. I have no fucking idea what it's like to start out back in 2017. It's so long since then. And so my vision now is trying to help people build a better system based on what I've learned. And so if you're someone who's just gotten to their first 10,000 followers, maybe you're the perfect person to help someone start content creation. And so that would be the first thing, is like try to think about someone who's maybe a few months or a few years before you. Or number two, if you're genuinely just too early, and let's say you're like 19 years old or 20 years old or 21 years old, and it's like very little experience, not really any idea what you're doing, I would urge you to just document the process of what you're doing. And so make your personal brand you documenting the journey of trying to figure that out. Just do a meta, like almost like a comical approach to it. Just be like, hey guys, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. And that would be an incredibly relatable come up that you'll eventually be able to look back on and go, that's really cool that I have that whole story. And so document the process of you trying to figure out what that is. You could make your entire brand be like, I'm trying all of the high value skills that I can possibly learn, and I'm going to document the process until I find one that makes me money. And that could be your entire personal brand. In terms of the second question, Daniel, I'm going to need you to remind me of the second question.
Good. That's all good. You went on. I think you kind of covered it, but how many origin stories does Tom share normally in his content? Do you share multiple stories or mostly a few? How do you pick and select?
So there's two things. Number one, you should always have like a hero piece, like a hero content piece that covers your origin story. I have it pinned on my profile. It's a carousel post. If you go there, you can look at the origin story. Obviously, it doesn't cover all of it because, you know, I've only got 20 slides to cover my origin story. And so keep in mind that not every piece of content needs to cover the entire story, but I try to think whenever I'm coming up with content ideas, what's the value? So what's the outcome I want to help someone achieve? Usually my content ideas are just lists, and then I'll just list out a bunch of different things that I want to help someone achieve. And then I try to think, what's an anecdote that I could tell that better portrays this value than I could just by telling it. And so let's say I'm talking about how to come up with content ideas as the piece of value that I'm sharing. Well, I'll tell an anecdote of a time where I struggled to come up with content ideas and the things that I used to get through that. And that's better because I'm incorporating my origin story and who I actually am into that process. The same with you cannot have intimacy without vulnerability. I could have just told you that today, or I could have told you that story. And the story was a lot more impactful. And so just try to incorporate anecdotes into your storytelling whenever you're creating content. And the best part about this is that you don't need to script it. You don't need to worry about like the transformation path. You don't need to worry about the avatar because you're just telling the story that actually happened. And if you just tell it, well, it has a perfect beginning, avatar, middle, and end. And so I would just try to incorporate as many different anecdotes into your content as you can.
Love it. I think I might have picked this one from you, mate. Something like congruency leads to fluency. It's like when you're telling your own story, you don't need to script it.
Yep.
Like you shouldn't have to script, I think we call it the pub chat framework, which is like, imagine like you're just sharing your story with a mate, right? Because you're not engineering something, you're not cooking something up. So hope that takes any of the fear and the resistance a lot of us have about leaning into our stories. I'll jump through a couple more. How much longer do you reckon you got, Tom? You want to rock for another 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, give us a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying this.
We're happy to rock for
as long as we want.
If anyone's fallen asleep, we can... Awesome. Cool. All right, a few nods. Keep it rocking. Beautiful. All right, next one I'll throw your way. Where was it? It was Fabricio. Apologies if I've mispronounced that. Is it worth having an email list, or should I keep working on getting followers? I think I know your answer, but...
It depends on where you're at. Honestly, I think there's a lot of value. Obviously, an email list is going to be more profitable. If you have an email list, most of my selling is done via email. Like I obviously gave you guys this, I would argue, is an email event, right? I got your email address. You ended up at this event. I've had a pitch and hopefully some of you choose to buy. And so this is an email sale. This is not a social sale. And so since I've gotten you here for 90 minutes now, I've built a lot more trust. And so as a result, there's a lot more buying intention or velocity. And so yes, an email list is more profitable, but there is a lot to be said about efficiency when it comes to the amount of energy that you have. And so if you're just starting out and you're a one-man band, which I imagine, or one-woman band, which I imagine most of you are, then I would much prefer you to just make another piece of content than write an email. Like if you're that early days and you're just posting on Instagram and you're just trying to post every day, if writing an email every week means that you post 3 less pieces of content per week, I would actually prefer you to just post more content. That's going to have the biggest net positive on your business long term. The other thing as well is it's really hard to, and this might just be my ADHD talking, but it's really hard to motivate yourself to do something when there's not a feedback loop in place. And so if you don't have a product yet, it's going to be very hard to motivate you to send emails every week because you don't have any bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? There's nothing coming for sending that email. Whereas if you make another piece of content, you've got the views, the likes, the engagement, the follower growth. And so you want to have a feedback mechanism that motivates you to create the content. And so for me, like every time I send an email, that's a high value task where I know how much money on average I'm making per email. And so it's very easy for me to motivate myself to do that. And so I would say if you're early days, absolutely focus on just content with the knowledge that you will make more money eventually with email. It's not this or that. The nuance of this conversation is it depends how early you are. If you've got no audience and you've just started making content and you don't even really have a product that you're selling and you're just experimenting with what you want your audience to be, an email list is the least of your worries at the moment.
Awesome. All right, Fabrizio, I hope that helps. I'm just going to throw 2 quick little technical email questions while we're touching on email, if that's all right. Just probably some quick ones from Alex and William.
Yep.
Just threw them in. Number 1 is, do I need to have ManyChat to build an email list? And then from William, at what point do you focus on warming old email leads versus the balance for gaining new email leads? So ManyChat first,
Yep.
and then nurturing old versus new.
No, you don't need a ManyChat account. A good little ManyChat hack, right, is you actually don't need the contacts in your
that's
ManyChat.
so funny. If you had to wait for me this morning.
You actually don't need the contacts in your ManyChat list. And so you can just go into your contacts and delete all in your contacts list, and your pricing for ManyChat will stay at the $15 a month. And so if you're worried about the price of ManyChat increasing, you can actually just delete all the contacts, because ManyChat is a CRM, like a client management software, as well as a messaging software. And so if you don't need the CRM component, then you can just delete all your contacts and keep it at $15 a month. Little hack for you in case you're worried about the price. But no, you don't need a ManyChat account to have an email list. And then in terms of question number 2, this is just in general, you kind of want to, don't view, and this goes for followers, this goes for revenue, this goes for customers, this goes for email lists, this goes for every metric that you can have in this business. Don't become a hoarder. Like, don't become one of these ego-driven people that's like hoarding people. I actually have every single launch, at the end of every launch, we delete about 5,000 email addresses. Anyone who hasn't opened a single email from the launch, we just bulk delete them. And there's an easy way in ConvertKit where you can just go select all that haven't interacted in the last 90 days and delete them. And so if I had an ego around the size of my email list, I would be like, oh my God, I can't do that. Because I think like 70, last time I checked, 78,000 emails over the last 3 or 4 years. I have 22,000 email addresses active on ConvertKit, but I also have a 75% open rate, or 60 or 65 to 75% open rate. And so I have a very healthy email list, not because I have an active email list, but because I actively delete people who don't interact. And so don't become a hoarder of email addresses. Don't become a hoarder of followers, because it'll suffocate your actions. You'll be worried about, I've got to appease all these people. When in reality, all you're actually doing on social media is regaining the top percentage of your audience that most interact at any one time. I'm not delusional of the fact that I have 500,000 followers on Instagram, or almost 500,000 followers, and most of my videos only get 10,000 views. But I don't care about that, because I'm actually only trying to interact with the most recent people who have followed me in the last year or 2 or 3. And so you need to make sure that you don't become a hoarder. Someone that's like ego driven and like, oh, I've got 10,000 email addresses, but you've only got like a 10% open rate. No, you don't. You've got 1,000 email addresses and 9,000 people who don't read them. And so that would be my advice in relation to that.
Yeah, that was the kick I needed, mate. When I joined cohort 4, I was just trying to use my ego to keep rolling previous wait lists into future wait lists for an inflated sense.
Yep.
But they didn't care anymore. And I think I watched this lesson, and as soon as I came off that lesson you delivered, I just deleted all my wait lists, and I was like, I have to earn new people, new eyeballs, new leads that are interested in the offer. So yeah, definitely hit me. All right, I'm going to have a question we had from Irabu. Threw a few in the chat, but I wanted to pluck this one up because I know there's a lot of individuals here that are interested in live education, kind of doing a similar thing.
Yep.
I'm not going to geek out on the tech stack, the software, how you do all this kind of stuff, because that's going too much.
Yep.
But the question I want to pluck is, if we aren't as comfortable teaching live like you, is there another method you'd recommend when running a cohort? Something that feels more like a pre-recorded course plus calls?
Yeah, I mean, like you can do, like, again, anything can work. Like anything can work. One of the biggest things, we have a system inside Time to Build called the Built For You Model Builder, which is like where we call it like tailor-made business, where we tailor a business to your specific frame or your specific needs. And so you can make anything work. Like you could have a cohort that's also a coaching offer that also has pre-recorded, that also has like one-on-one calls. Like you can do whatever the fuck you want. There's no rhyme or reason for like a cohort needs to be a cohort, a coaching offer needs to be a coaching offer, a membership needs to be a membership. All of them are just different delivery mechanisms that all come together into whatever you call that model, right? And so that's my first advice, is like anything can work. But I would urge you to not see that as a limiting factor. Like if you're not as comfortable with live education, that's not because you don't have something that I possess. It's because you've not done it as much as I have. I did 275 hours of live education last year. I've done almost 1,000 hours of live education over the last 3 years. And so this is my bread and butter. You guys are probably thinking like, why is Tom so much more entertaining in this live call than he is on YouTube? It's because I like live better. I have more fun doing this than I have doing YouTube videos. It's just the way my brain works. But that's also because I've done it a lot. I reckon I've spent more time doing live education than I have doing YouTube videos. And so I would urge you to both understand that you can make anything work, but don't see that as a limiting factor. You have all the ingredients I have. I'm not this anomaly. I'm just a person that's done this a lot. And so try to remember that you have all these components and you can do this. You just are earlier on than I was. And so I would just try to, don't think you need to have the fucking crazy slides and things going everywhere and the iPad connected. Just try to just jump on Zoom, share screen, have some slides, make it simple. Don't worry about all of this. I do this because I'm a big nerd for this stuff. I like this stuff. Honestly, I like the look on all of your faces when you jump in here and you're like, how the fuck how's he having a transition between scenes? He's jumping between his iPad. I get a kick out of that. But I know lots of coaches that literally just get on with their webcam and slides and share screen, and it's still just as valuable. And so it's up to you. This is what I like to do, but don't see this as what you need to do.
Love it. Yep. The thing you'll master is the thing that you do over a long period of time, and it's going to be aligned to your strengths and what you love doing. So yeah, not worth comparing to someone who's clocked, you're on your way to your 10,000 hours with this, mate. Yeah. 1,000, you got 9,000 to go. Yeah. Awesome. All right. We've got a few more that I think are probably of relevance to others. We have this question from Carolus, and we might have a few from all over the world. So what would you say to people who live in a small country and create in their native language?
A small country and create in their native language. This is like the top question we've ever been asked.
This is pretty big. We get,
we get asked this question all the time, and unfortunately, I can't make that decision for you. You need to decide what your long-term goals are, right? And so don't see your language. And I know this sounds rich as a guy coming from Australia who speaks English. I'm aware. I know. But don't see your native language as a limiting factor. See it as a point of uniqueness. Your accent might be the thing that cuts through. Like if you've got this thick accent and you speak in like broken English, but your content's ultra valuable, that is memorable. That's something that people will think about when they think of your content. And so don't see your language as a limiting factor. See it as a point of uniqueness. Then I would just make sure you're fully aware of the benefits and limitations of whichever direction you go in. And so if you come from a country with like
a few tens of millions of people and you want to make tens of millions of dollars, it's probably going to be pretty hard to do with that limited bandwidth. And so try to remember that English is going to have the highest possible market volume, but you're also competing with every other person speaking English. And so I know lots of people who have German audiences and crush because the only people who speak German are Germans. And so when a German stumbles across a German speaking content creator, they're like, this is my person. I'm not listening to anyone else. These are like, fuck everyone else teaching this thing. And so I know a lot of German creators who just copy someone else in English and teach it in German and crush. And so there's lots of different options in regards to what language you speak. But I would just try to get clear about what are your long-term goals. Like, do you want to have a big global company and a big global business? Well, then you're going to have to speak English or a language that lots of people speak. Whereas if you want to be more niche and you want to be more famous locally, then that's also an option for you.
Love it. Could start as being a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Dominate that and scale out, or go for the big one.
Exactly.
It's up to you. Love it. Love it. Got a couple more. I think I want to help put this one to rest, bro. We always get this every cohort. And I feel there's a portion of the audience that's chomping at the bit for it.
Yep.
Someone might be unmuted
It's all good.
as well.
I got it.
Can knock them. Thank you. If you have 1K followers, and for the sake of this question, Tom, just imagine the answer could be 1K, 500, 10,000.
Yep.
You had 80,000 at one point when you went through a pivot in your brand.
Yep.
Should you launch your brand on that account or start a new account focused entirely on your brand, like a clean slate start? What's your take on this?
You're all going to hate my answer for this because it's not strategic. It's actually psychological. Whatever decision gives you the most confidence. And so I hadn't posted for 12 months and I had an Instagram account with 80,000 followers for digital art. And so if you scroll back, and you'll be scrolling for a while because I've posted like, I think 1,600 times since then, or like 1,500 times since then. But scroll on my account and you'll get to a point where it literally goes from a piece of digital art to a photo of me to talking to the camera. I 180 degree pivot. And so I had 80,000 followers for a very specific thing and I hadn't touched that account. I hadn't posted anything for 12 months. And then I pivoted 100%. And so there is no such thing as a dead account. Like, please just eliminate the words algorithm, eliminate the words dead account, eliminate the words shadow banned. Please just eliminate that from your vocab, because the only thing that's doing is limiting your belief, right? If you are constantly telling yourself that you're shadow banned, guess what's going to happen? Your content's going to be shit and it's going to perform badly and you're going to tell yourself you're shadow banned because our unconscious tries to manifest what we feed it, right? And so whatever decision gives you the most confidence. And so if you look at the two options, you're like, I've got 1,000 followers, most of them are high school friends of my mum. And then you've got a blank account and you're like, well, the blank account would give me more confidence to not give a fuck. Go with the blank account. Whereas if you've got 10,000 followers and you're like, you know what, I actually wouldn't mind the head start, feeling like I've got a bit of social proof and that'll give me more confidence, go with that account. But whichever one gives you the most confidence, there's not a right or wrong answer in this situation. You can make any work. Also, guess what? This is a problem until it ceases to be a problem. Do you know how many times a week I think about my 80,000 followers that followed me for digital art? 0. Well, once, including this time. And so never. I never think about that. Why? Because I've gained 400,000 followers since then. And so this will be a problem until it's never a problem ever again. And so this is kind of one of those situations where any brain power spent on this is a waste of energy. So forget about it. Make a decision, commit fully, and move on.
I just want to let that simmer for a second so that little 2-second spiel can live rent-free in everyone's head every time they're faced with that moment, and think of the word algorithm, shadow ban.
Yeah.
Not Zuckerberg, but
yeah,
Adam Mosseri, whoever's out to get you, it's like it's you against you with this kind of stuff. Yeah. So, I knew that was going to be your answer, and I think we all need to hear it. Can't hear it enough. Awesome. We've got a couple more rockin' questions.
Go.
I'll keep going. Awesome. This one's from John Brosio. Great to see you on the call, and thank you for your patience on this one. What if you're the type of person who has an offer, it's proven, doing 120K in the last 2 years, so well done, that's really awesome, but cannot seem to get over that hump obviously a lot of nuance, but is it more a tweak offer question or tweak launch or tweak whatever? Like, what's your problem solving method, Tom, to try kind of unlock scale? How do you figure out what to focus on if you think you're hitting a revenue plateau?
The compass. I mean, this is literally like the profitable creator engine is literally how we would diagnose this. So I would ask, like I ask all of my students to track your numbers each month. Track your numbers, and over a calendar year, you can kind of go backwards and do this retroactively as well. And so if you are genuinely struggling, you hit $120,000 2 years in a row, I would go back and do all of your numbers for 2025. Look at them from someone discovering you to becoming a lead, to becoming a hot lead, to buying your product, to ascending to a client, to whatever it is. And so for those numbers, you need top line. So how many total views did you get? How many leads did you get? What did you make per customer, and how many customers did you make? So total LTV, which is, I know we're saying a lot of numbers right now, but lifetime value, your total revenue divided by your total customers is how much money you made per customer last year. I would get those numbers, and something, I promise, will jump out at you. And so to share a real life example of this, I'll share this with the iPad. So we last year we did, I'm going to share some real shit. So sorry if people think this is a bit weird. So last year we did 2,500,000 approximately accounts reached. So this is unique human beings. 2.5 million unique human beings. I think it was like 2,582,000 something human beings last year. From that, we gained 8,500 email addresses. Emails. That is a 0.3% conversion rate from accounts reached to email addresses. Keep that in mind. From that, we then converted 480 people. I think it was 480. I'm just going to use 450 sales. So customers at 30, I think it was like 3,800 each. So we made $3,800 per person. You might be thinking, hold on, Tom, Time to Build is more expensive than that. The reason is because we had products for leads. And so on the whole, we made $3,800 per person who interacted with my business last year. And from that, we made 1.5 million. And so from this 2.5 million to 8,500 is 0.3%. 8,500 to 450 was, I think it was like 12%. Or maybe not. Maybe it was like, 12%. I'll just use 12%. And so what's jumping out at you right now? It's pretty fucking obvious, isn't it? If this number becomes 1%, revenue becomes 5 million. If I change nothing else, if I just try to gain more email addresses this year and get my conversion of accounts reached to email addresses to 1%, I make $5 million. And so I promise you, if you figure out your math, if you just go back retroactively to last year and you map out every step from someone interacting with you for the first time all the way through till becoming a client, I promise something will jump out at you and you'll go, holy fuck, I'm getting this many people visiting my website and only 4 of every 100 are becoming leads, and then every 5 of every 100 of those become customers. I need to get more people to become leads, and it'll become glaringly obvious. Does that kind of help? I hope that's exactly what you were asking. Otherwise, I just went on a tangent for no reason.
It's all good. Short of having John's full situation, John, I just hope the principle that we drill a lot inside the program is like, you got to track your numbers. Otherwise you're just guessing. You're guessing and gambling. It's like gut instinct.
Can I share so we had a customer recently come to us, a new student recently come to me, and she was like, oh, my last launch converted it. I think she said like my last launch waitlist converted at 6%. But I was really expecting it to convert at 25. And I was like, who told you 25? And she's like, oh, this person on Instagram, I saw this video. They said they converted at 25%. I was like, yeah, but you didn't. So like, unless you know your numbers, you're basically licking your thumb, putting it in the air and going, I hope this works. And so make sure you know what your numbers are. Make sure you're tracking each month. How many views did you get? How many website visits did you get? How many of those people purchased? What did you make per customer last month? What was your conversion from viewer to customer? How much money did you make per view? If you know all these numbers, it's
pretty easy to then diagnose what's wrong in your business. And so one of the first things we make you do in Time to Build is we give you a spreadsheet, which sounds boring as fuck. We give you a spreadsheet and we go, fill this out every month, because that's the only way that I'm actually able to know, okay, what did you do last month? How much did that turn into money? Okay, based on those numbers, how can I help you actually achieve something?
And the inverse also happens as well. I've had it with a few students, Tom, where they actually start tracking for the first time, even though they're resistant to a spreadsheet. They have an outlier month, and then we're like, what did you do differently? And because they track the data, they could double down on the content types or the platforms and just kill all the busy work or the distracted platforms they don't need, and they just triple down on the one that was giving them best returns, right? Yeah. And it's like, that's what it does. It's right in front of you.
I mean, even we've discovered this. Like, we found out recently that my Spotify is getting more views per month than my YouTube by just uploading my YouTube videos on Spotify. And so I was like, well, okay. And then we're getting a 2% click rate from Spotify to website visits. YouTube, Instagram converts 0.15 viewers to website visits.
1.5. Yeah.
0.15 from viewer to website visits. Spotify is currently converting at 2%. That is ludicrous. And so why would I spend all of the, obviously short form platforms are audience building. We'll talk about all this. But the point is that you should be focusing where you can actually figure this out. And the only way you figure this out is by knowing your numbers. Yeah, exactly, Lance. Who would have thought? Just re-uploading my YouTube videos onto Spotify is one of the biggest drivers of website traffic for my business at the moment. Fair enough.
Wild. Shout out to the Spotify.
Yeah, if any of you listen on Spotify, that's awesome.
The OG podcasters, yeah. Love it. All right, couple more questions, Tom. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do 2 more.
Do 2 more? Ooh, a bit of pressure. I got to pluck a few. I feel like everyone started flooding more questions in the last 10, 15 minutes now that we've got the juices flowing. So I am sorry to everyone that's just jumped in towards the end. Not to be too shameless, but if you jump inside of Time to Build, if you do choose to join us, Tom has historically, I think infamously one time went on like a 3.5, 4 hour hot seat where he was
rookie numbers, dude. We're known for our marathon hot seat.
They go marathons.
I think it's one of the, for me, this part, right? Like what we would do is essentially you would be in place of Daniel. We're not doing it in this call because there's just so many fucking people and I don't want people to feel like they're missing out. Obviously that's impossible to ignore. But one of the things that I really love to do is actually interact. I try to say like, someone asked earlier, like how much one-on-one support do you get inside Time to Build? I try to make sure that by the end of the cohort, I know each and every single person who joins, their story, their history, what they're doing, their business, how I can help them, because I've had a conversation with every single person at least once, if not dozens of times throughout the program. And so, yeah, there's enormous, I mean, it's as close to one-on-one coaching as you can get for not paying. And so, yeah.
So true. All right. I'll share this one with Nick because I think we've had a few in a similar space to Nick. So just read it out. I'm first and foremost a musician, stroke songwriter, stroke artist, but I also have a high understanding of spirituality and holistic health. I want to teach creators and work with people on connecting to their hearts and healing and make money through these offerings. But I also want to use social media to promote my music.
Yep.
So I didn't extract an exact question, I think, from it. I might have missed the end of it, but I think it's how do I balance doing both?
Oh, you got to pick. You have to pick, man. This sucks. I know, like it's really hard, but my advice to you would be get clear about your values. Like I would urge you to do some inner work as much as everyone's eyes glaze over when I start talking about this shit. Do some inner work. Try to figure out what your values are. Like I know my top 3 values are wealth building, teaching, and training. That in that order. So like wealth building for my family is tippy top number 1. Teaching, so doing what I'm doing now, is number 2, and training. I'm probably going to go for a run after this. And so those are my top 3 values. And so I know that whatever my business is needs to be aligned with those values. Otherwise, I'm going to be Sisyphus pushing shit uphill. It's not hard for me to be on this call. It's actually very easy. I don't want to get off this call because then I have to start the actual hard work of my job, which is the less enjoyable stuff. And so I would urge you to get really clear about what your values are and then just pick one. Like you're not going to know what the alternative is. I got a piece of advice from a friend of mine years ago. I have a friend of mine who's self-made, like 26-year-old worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, like very successful person. And before I was successful, he was like at this point 23, and I think his business had done $6 million that year. And he's a very niche YouTube creator who then has his own manufacturing business. And I asked him, I was like, why don't you start like making a channel? Because he's really into jiu-jitsu. He buys houses and property and stuff. I was like, why don't you make YouTube channels about that? And he just turned to me and goes, Tom, because this is my cash cow that allows me to do whatever the fuck I want with the rest of my time. And I was like, oh, okay. And so he has a cash cow in terms of his business that it then allows him to go to jiu-jitsu, then allows him to go drive his cars, that then allows him to do everything else that he wants. And so, yes, if I really was one of these people that's so hell-bent on being multifaceted, I would have an Ironman channel, I would have a sim racing channel, I would have a motorsport channel, a car collection channel, I would have an interior design channel, I'd have a wealth building channel. But I'm not going to do all of those things because I know that if I just pick one, I'll achieve so much more. And so every day, like I have multiple hobbies. I'm a multifaceted human being. We all are. But at the end of the day, if you want to achieve success, you're going to have to pick one. And the best way to do that is to get clear about your values and then align the one that you pick with your highest values, because that'll give you the most longevity. And so for me, building this business, I get to simultaneously build wealth for me and my family, but I also get to help other people do that, which feels fucking awesome. And then I get to teach other people to do that. And then I get a lot of time to train because I have a business that gives me a lot of time freedom and location freedom. And I get to just, fuck off at, 10:42, go for a run at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, which not many people on earth are able to do because of their job. And so that's in line with my highest three values of wealth building, teaching, and training. And so that would be my advice, is get clear about your values and then pick your mission in line with those values.
Love it. Less but better. Or I should say the inverse is probably scattered focus gives you scattered results.
It does.
And I keep learning that lesson over and over. All right, there's been a few more questions, so I'm going to apologize to Alex, I think Howard, Benny. There's been a few more that have come through, but the one I've plucked, I think, is the right way to wrap up this session, Tom.
We're can I just say as well, we're thinking of doing, actually I won't say that. I'll email that to you guys. I don't want to say it and then be like, I have to do that now. But we're thinking of bringing something out that's like a free thing. It's basically a free version of this once a month, like free version of like hot seat coaching like this once a month, where we'll get a bunch of applications. We'll pick our favorite 10 and then we'll do a few hours with 10 of you for free. Is just a way to both have content, because I'm recording this on a vertical camera off to the left that you guys don't see, but then also just provide great value to some of you as much as we can. So we're thinking about doing that. And also we're going to run way more free workshops this year. So don't feel like this is like the last and only time. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind if you feel like you've missed out.
Awesome. Appreciate it. All right, William's question. It's a short and sweet one, but you can ponder a little bit on this, mate. If you had only one single piece of advice you could leave your 2019 past self, what would it be? Now, you've left a lot on your YouTube channel, so which one stands out the most to you in this moment, Tom?
Oh, that's a fucking hard question.
2019.
I mean, it always comes back to longevity. Like the only reason I talk about this a lot with my students, the only reason that I am where I am is because I'm persistent, not talented. And so like I've been making content. 2026 October will be officially the beginning of my 10th year. I quit my job almost 10 years ago. And so I'm persistent, not talented. I know lots of people over the last 10 years who I've met who were ultra talented, skyrocketed past me. They gained 100,000 followers for one post and things were going crazy. And then I don't know what they do anymore because they don't make content. They got burnt out. They stopped doing it. They didn't make enough money. They had to get a job. Something happened in their personal life. Shit has happened in my personal life that could have stopped me. Lots of things have changed in my personal life that could have stopped me. I've had multiple moments where I thought about stopping doing this before it was successful enough to be worthwhile continuing to just pursue it. And so I've had endless moments where that could have happened, but I was persistent and I stuck with it. And the only reason I am where I am is because I've been doing this longer than most of, I would imagine, almost all of you on this call. And so if you can just do this in a way that gives you the most longevity, there is no point doing something for a short time that you can't maintain for a long time. And so if you can do this with the intention of, I'm going to be doing this for 20 years, you will, like, I can't say this and emphasize this enough. You are guaranteed success if you just lengthen the time in which you want to achieve it by. And so I know with absolute certainty that I'm still going to be, I've only been doing this for 9 years. And so I know with absolute certainty that I'm still going to be making content and still going to be trying to help people and still try to align with my 3 values in my 50s, in my 60s, in my 70s. Can you imagine the kind of impact that I'm going to have in 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, right? And so the game just becomes, how can you last the longest? It's an endurance sport, not a sprint. And so although I've probably hyped you up a lot and like you're going to want to make a lot of content and it's really exciting, I would try to urge you to remember, like, if what you're trying to achieve, is like success beyond your wildest dreams and every ambition you've ever had becoming a reality, why does it matter if you achieve it in 12, 24, 5 years or 10 years? Right? Doesn't. Like if I was like to you, if I was like, Matt, I guarantee you're going to be making $10 million a year, but you have to wait 20 years. Would you be like, oh, okay, fair trade? Exactly. And like, I could guarantee that for you. It's like wealth building, right? Like most people in their life, if they really think about it and they really do the math, can get to $100 million net worth. That's not bonkers. I can see most of you being like, what the fuck, $100 million? But if you actually sit down at some point and do the compounding math of what that's like, it's going to be in your 70s and 80s for some of you, but it's possible. The issue is most people don't ever delay gratification for that long. And success is the exact same. And so my one piece of advice is just focus all of your energy on how you can maintain whatever you're doing for the longest period of time. Whatever you're doing, whatever content you're making, whatever thing you're doing, whatever business you want to build, try to maintain it for a long period of time. And I'll leave you with a piece of advice I got from a billionaire that I know personally. She wanted to have a meeting with me because I'm in the online education space. She's has multiple businesses doing more than $1 billion a year in cash. And so this woman's worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I had a meeting with her, and at the end, she's like, what can I help you with? Because you've given me so much value, I want to help you with something. And I just said, I was like, how do I go from, at the time, this was 2.5 years ago, I was like, how do I go from like a high 6-figure, low 7-figure entrepreneur to like hundreds of millions of dollars? How does that happen? And she just goes, Tom, your current business is almost never your last business. And so spending any time worrying about how your current business is going to become the business is a waste of energy. Basically saying like, stop worrying about how where you are now is going to get you to where you want to be and just keep doing the work. And this is from a woman who's worth billions of dollars. So she really knows what she's fucking talking about. And so your current business, whatever you're currently doing, is almost never your last business. And so I'll leave you with that. I think that's probably a good place to finish.
Rock and roll. We're just getting started. No, we'll wrap it up there. For everyone who's asking, we will be slicing and dicing a little recording if you're still here.
Yeah,
just a massive shout out to like the 159 that is still here.
Yeah, legends. You guys are fucking awesome. The hold on from you guys is, to start with 280 and have 150 at the end of a long Q&A. Well done. You guys still on the call. I think you guys have proven yourselves. Like I say this a lot. I think it's worth remembering as much as possible. There's like moments where you signify your value. Like I say this to my time to build students. You might not yet be in the 1% in terms of the success you want, in terms of the money you want, in terms of all the achievements you want to achieve, but your commitment already signifies that you're in that 1%, right? The math that I showed you, I have 500,000 followers online, 1,000 people registered and 280 people showed up and 150 people are still in the end of this call. You're in the 10% of that 1,000 that was already in the 1% or less than 1% of my whole audience. So you've already firmly positioned yourself in the 1% of the 1% in terms of your commitment to your goal. And you should be incredibly proud of that. And so try to remind yourself all the time, like, you're already doing all the shit that's going to get you there. You just have to keep doing it. Like, try to fucking remind yourself as much as you can. I know this is like we're getting into woo-woo, but like, the more you can be grateful for what you've already got, the more that life will give you what you want. Because what you push for, what you feel like you lack, it continues to elude you. The moment that you feel like you lack something, it continues to elude you. And so just make content, follow what we said today, focus on giving value, focus on just trying to deliver as much success to other people as you possibly can, and I promise it'll come back to you tenfold. I think we'll leave it there.